Welcome, gamers, to the Some Ordinary podcast. Today we have a very special guest, one who I actually know a lot about, is ChubbyEmu.
Hello, how's it going?
And
Thank you for having me.
Hosts, Nux and Mudahar.
Yeah!
Nux and Mudahar! Hello.
Yeah, as you can tell, Doctor, we are not the most I guess you could say professionals. You know,
It's rough.
I'm reading off my script right now. It's looking good.
It's pretty rough out here.
Hey, you all are like daily uploaders on YouTube, so that's professional enough for me. That's it's tough. It's tough to even getting one a month for me.
Yours are different from ours, though.
Well, I mean,
yours are a lot more different.
Yeah, you're like drugging patients and stuff to get good content.
The closest I get is playing around with really dangerous computer malware and like hoping to God that I haven't infected anything in the next week. You know. That's where I get to education, because my thing with education is like when I want to make content that'll educate, and it's kind of a little risky. It's a lot of preparedness. That's as far as professional as I get. You know, so it's a little different on daily uploading there.
So I have a question though before we get too far into it. It's a play off a running joke. How would a boy present to the emergency room what would happen if he were to drink 12 RC colas and eat 12 moon pies?
He's back into the RC cola question.
Is there something happens to your body if you just drink a lot of soda all at once? What happens? RC cola specifically.
I feel like Caleb is doing this podcast to make RC Cola mainstream.
I am.
It's not going to be mainstream.
Never.
No.
There could be a caffeine response. I don't know if RC Cola has that much, but
130 milligrams per can.
Oh.
Why do you know that?
Wait,
Why do you know that?
You know the exact milligram dosage per can.
I was prepared for the question, all right?
Oh my god.
I was prepared.
That's pretty high if you're drinking 12. That's almost like monster levels for like the 16-ounce monster cans, right?
Yeah, RC is disgusting.
Wow.
Yeah, RC has I think they just get by every form of governmental oversight. I didn't know that was actually that close to the monster stuff. I have monsters, and actually my thing with caffeine, I've never actually had it really affect me the way that everyone else has ever said, because like everyone's like, it just boosts me up. But when I have coffees, like hot coffee, it like actually makes me go sleepy. Like I don't really feel like I'm going to I don't spark up, you know, like I don't drink coffee to like spark myself. It's just like, I like the flavor, but it doesn't do fuck all to wake me up.
I always take amino acids with mine. I usually do like taurine and theanine because it makes me not so jittery. Theanine especially, I believe. It's like that's why green tea's like more of a smooth, more of a body, more of a body high.
Why would caffeine not help me, doctor? Am I actually medically damaged?
So I'll tell you, even just like for me personally, when I have caffeine, I don't feel perked up. I just kind of feel like my heart beats a little bit harder and faster. And there's like this like dull sensation at like the top of my abdomen or the bottom of my chest. And like if I have too much of it, it just kind of starts to burn. And then like that's it for caffeine. And then you go to sleep, and then you wake up the next morning, like maybe you had like, I don't know, 5 hours of sleep, you feel awful, and then you just kind of look around and, okay. And that's it for me.
You literally just described the first time I had a shot of alcohol, like that numb feeling in your chest. You feel it? Holy fuck. I'm like, man, I am medically weird. Holy fuck.
Didn't you say in one of the episodes that your insides are like mirrored?
Yeah, I have so when they got my appendix removed, the doctor's like, hey, congrats, you're like a very rare anomaly. I'm like, what do you mean? It's like, yeah, we tried to find your intestines, but I guess we're just misplaced, so, you know,
See,
congratulations.
Budar, you're like a shiny Pokemon.
That's kind of what he said to me, though. It was like kind of interesting. I'm like, he didn't give me the whole term for it. Like, it was like, everything in that medical sheet was way too long for me to read. And look, I mean, when I say I went to college, I just went to college. Like I grazed by it. Fucking hell no, did not pick up the debt along the way. That's for sure. But
What's this, doctor? What's the explanation for this? How come my shoulder just like falls out of socket?
I mean, is it completely dislocating out? It doesn't seem like it is.
I can't move it whenever I do this.
Oh, interesting.
And there's like a hole there, and then I can like pull it back up, and then it just falls. I don't know. It's always done this.
Yeah, some people in their anatomy can do it. Like me, I can do that.
Yeah, we got that.
Oh yeah. I can do that too.
Yeah, but I can't do it on this hand. So
I don't have hands.
Me neither.
You should make a dislocated thumb avatar for your for your thing.
True.
Come on now.
Is it subluxating? when it's like kind of out?
I guess. I mean, you hear chiropractors use that term a lot with back.
Yeah. They're real doctors.
So, assholes. They go to school for a weekend. Come on.
My dog has a little subluxating patella. Her patella pops off, and she has to she walks around her little paws, her little legs up, and you have to realign her patella. But I'm not a chiropractor though.
There's also like doctor of osteopathic medicine, and I think in '87 Congress made it so that they had to standardize the education, but there was like an MD shortage, so they standardized it so that DO and MDs are equivalent. And osteopathic medicine, they do some things that I don't know enough about it, but I might get hit for this, but it kind of seems like chiropractic stuff, but it's like maybe a Venn diagram, and there's maybe some overlap.
Okay.
What do you mean you might get hit for this? Are you starting beef with the fucking community?
Well, I hope not. I hope not.
Dude.
Dude, I think everything medical is like,
crazy.
everyone's scared of like saying something that might be construed as misinformation today.
Yeah, how do you like navigate YouTube? That's a weird thing, because over the last year, it's like so much medical because people get taken down for everything COVID related or medicine. So it's like, how do you navigate? Like, I know you're a professional, but obviously medical like has so many different fields of expertise, right? Like my dad, like he only knows about like heart stuff, and I mean he knows about everything really, but like that's his specialization. How do you like navigate? Do you ever have like tussles with YouTube's community guidelines?
So community guidelines, no, but in the comments, what I've noticed since pandemic, so the reason my Twitter is just all shit posts now is that probably around like April or May of 2020, I realized that pandemic, like, because I made a video about hydroxychloroquine, and all I talked about was just like the toxicities. Ooh. But there was like a news story about a guy that took like the aquarium cleaner, and like, I mean, I don't think the details came out. It could have been a murder. I don't know, right? So whatever that detail was, it was what it was. But I made that video and I published it, I think beginning of April 6th maybe. And so doing that, it just kind of unleashed this firestorm. And I'm just like, there's not another time where I'm going to be able to talk about the toxicities of like kind of an obscure drug. I mean, it's common depending on what diseases you have, but
and still get the exposure,
right? And so it's like there's never another time where I'm going to be able to talk about that one particular medicine. So I just talked about, this could happen if you take it, and that's it. But it just unleashed like this like firestorm in the comments, and then like I saw it on like Reddit. And somebody linked me, like there was a 4chan thing on it too. And I was like, what is going on? Like this isn't even what I was like. I just wanted to talk about the medicine. And it just, it exploded. And like I'm noticing now in my comments, like people are like try to fight you over everything. And it's like just even little stuff here and there, they just try to like make it a culture war. So I'm just like, well, I said what I said in the video. There's references linked in the description below. Check them out yourself and come to your own conclusion.
I feel like the ease of accessibility of information on the internet, like a lot of people, you can get some really good surface level info online. And you feel like, oh, well, I mean, I know just as much as this guy. I just read the Wikipedia article. So I feel like a lot of arguments are just very ill-based in general. When it comes to professional
I think now it's like you've got two things. You got a bunch of armchair experts who like they've read one Reddit post and suddenly they feel like they're an expert on every single thing. Like
me.
The whole reason I never like leave my lane, you know what I mean? Like I don't talk about like anything like that I'm not an expert of, right? Like sometimes I do dip my toe into things that like I'm learning currently, but like if it's like medical related, obviously I have like no opinion on anything because I'm not an expert, so I'm not gonna like jump into a comment section and like fucking argue for an hour and a half with another professional and act like because that's the problem, right? Like I think like a big chunk of people just became like armchair generals, like keyboard warriors and shit. And you're right, like most things are becoming like a culture war, right? Like we just had like that one, I forgot his name already, the guy who just got banned from like Valorant. What's his name?
I Show Speed.
Oh yeah.
So he had like he had a toxic gamer moment, and I don't want to say it's just a gamer moment. Like he told it was like go back and do the dishes or something. That's what he told one of the female gamers, right? So we were just like, it's a pretty shitty thing to say. Obviously, like I was just like, it's shitty. Yep. Like you shouldn't be saying that. It's dumb. He got banned from the game, and then the YouTube like gaming creator jumped in, and I was like, like the head of.
Well, I think it was the other way around. First, the gaming creator jumps in. They need their little slice of the clout pie. That's how it all works out.
Yeah.
And so what I found really scummy about is first he calls out Speed, then Speed apologizes, and then he's like, Speed, thank you so much for clarifying your stance on the situation. And I'm like, bro, you just canceled this man.
Yeah.
You don't want to clarify his stance on the situation. You want clout.
My thing is people kind of turned it into like, oh, you're censoring people. Oh, you're soft. And I'm like, and maybe you can say things are shitty, but then also at the same time, it's like, it doesn't have to be this like overarching, like massive war between like communities. Like it's not that deep, you know, like.
I mean, I do think there was some jealousy involved too, because he's like one of the biggest streamers right now, and the biggest streamers on Twitch that are obviously jealous of this kid, right? Start trash talking him too.
That is a scary. That is a scary market to get into, man. The streaming side, because it's like it feels like when you're making a video, like you get to make a video once like a month and everything, and like we all make our videos and like we all like upload here and there sporadically. But for like a streamer, they're always like on like 24. Like
just spewing.
I saw it like I think it was like if you miss a day, because you lose like fucking 30% of your subscribers or some shit on Twitch or something. Like
it's
you just
quick,
like fall off.
Yep.
So it's like for them taking like for us it's like, oh, today's a day off, tomorrow's a day off, right? Like I'll take this day off to work on content or I'll do something in my real life. For them it's like, oh shit, I wasn't streaming for this like day. Christ, I have that's the thing, right?
I mean, and also the Twitch numbers, like it works on a 30-day cycle, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, you know, if you have, let's say, 3,000 subscribers on Twitch, if you take a day off, you will have 2,900 subscribers on Twitch. You know? Like,
it's a fucked up.
It literally works like that.
I don't know.
Yeah,
so.
It's crazy.
But the communities on there are usually, in my opinion, like they're more close than like the YouTube stuff. Because at least with YouTube, it's like everyone is on like a different like sort of wavelength. Like everyone just sort of does their own thing. Yeah, everyone has like a niche.
There's so many niches. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, look at us, right? Yeah. Anime, fat people.
Dude.
Different niches. Look at
I'm
that.
passionate about it. What can I say?
I mean, there is definitely a crossover between anime and fat people. I mean, I don't want to be the one to say that. But...
Not fat people, morbidly obese people.
Oh, okay, all right.
It's a tactical.
How did you and the fine doctor meet? I want to know this story, actually, because you have always...
So I believe you just saw that I talked about you on the podcast, right?
So it was probably in January. I had seen one of Muda's videos, and then you had mentioned...
my apologies.
You had mentioned the podcast.
Dude.
So I was like, oh, Muda's got a podcast now. So it was the episode with Jay Schlatt. And I was like, I think I was like doing errands around the house. And so I remember I just kind of stopped to like take a drink. And then you guys were talking about streamers like just watching the TV meta, and then people were getting banned, and like that was the story back in January. And then the topic went to like YouTubers and like, oh, you know, streamers can watch YouTube videos. And then like as I'm like drinking like my water, Caleb says, you know, maybe you can watch something interesting. And then you pause for a second. You said ChubbyEmu. And then like it just came out of nowhere, and so I spat out my water. I'm like, wait, what?
Yeah, dude, I really do. I watch every time there's a new one immediately. It's the only channel on my phone that actually pops up on the home screen of my phone.
I had to click on one because I love the way that you do your title. So it's like this person
it's
drank
so
glow
good,
sticks.
dude.
This guy drank 6
it's
glow
so
sticks,
good.
and I was like, as soon as I saw glow sticks, I was
I
like,
did that once.
As soon as I saw the glow stick, I'm like, wait a minute, you're not supposed to drink these. Hold the fuck up. Wait a minute, 6? Wait, this man's not alive.
So for me, I think my favorite title I saw was "A Bitcoin Miner Heat Stroked in His Sleep." Like, why do we need to know he was a Bitcoin? I don't know. But,
well, because you're mining all your graphic and it fucking cooks up your house.
I do have a medical question. Is there anything that could happen like non-ironically, like let's say there was a lot of
asking you the questions that he doesn't want to ask his actual doctor. Like,
I don't want to Google it. I just don't want to Google it. Also, I haven't been to the doctor since I was a child, by the way. I don't even have a doctor. But could I actually get pink eye from smelling a fart in a jar? Like, that's just like the real.
Dude, that fart is gone. Dude, thermodynamics proves the fart has been removed.
It's not, dude. Hydrogen salt, or is it hydrogen sulfide, or heck, whatever? It's heavier than air. It stays in the jar.
Yeah, the sulfur content from the fart.
Stays in the jar, brother. Stays in the jar.
Pink eye, probably not.
There's no poop flakes.
I don't know if you can guarantee that one.
What about if I drank her bathwater?
That's a good question. You probably won't. I mean, it's like there was that joke about like the Pyro getting STD from drinking Belle Delphine's bathwater. No.
Mm-hmm. I mean, yeah, it looks clean. It tastes pretty good.
Have you gotten a DNA tested yet? Because I swear to God, I feel like you got scammed. I feel like it's going to turn out.
I should. I don't know how to do that, though. Where do I... how do I do that?
Genetics laboratory. Explain the whole fucking
with the thing. Hey, I got this. I got a thing I got to do.
Yeah, okay, fine. Let's role play for a second. I'm the genetic expert. You're Caleb, all right? Come to me.
I have I've got a jar. It's got some liquids in it.
What liquid I
bought it online. Mm-hmm. I bought it online. It contains rainwater from the Amazon.
Yeah, okay, you're full of shit, sir. Please leave. Go.
Ignore the red hair.
Like this jar. You're full of hot air.
No, that's. I will say, like, those jars sold out. I'm pretty sure. So she made like fucking $500,000 or some shit off.
Yeah, bro. She's smart. She's pretty smart. She's smarter than me. Certainly.
If we all did the fart jar meme, all right, unironically, who do you think would sell the most jars?
Easily you, bro.
Caleb.
How the fuck would I sell the most?
I think Caleb
it would absolutely be you, man.
No, it would be Caleb.
No, I think
would it be me?
I think it's the doc.
Dude, because you have the largest percent woman audience.
That's true.
That's true.
I don't know.
What's the percent?
No, I'm just saying,
it's almost 40.
Oh, wow. So mine goes to 4. So for me, when the numbers go really high, the female percentage is a lot higher. So, ideally, it makes sense, right? Ideally, you want to appeal to everyone. So then all of the numbers, yeah.
True, yeah. Generally, I've had trouble in the last few years, but ever since I started making videos about people who are morbidly obese, just women love watching that, it turns out.
Yo, Caleb, you have to be like Ninja and make a course of how to do YouTube right. All right?
Watch TLC. That's all you have to do. Literally all you have to do.
How can you call yourself the Learning Channel and just make shit like that?
Dude.
What the fuck?
It's so stupid. It is the worst channel on the whole internet. It's horrible.
I love that show, Extreme Cheapskates, because it's so obviously fucking fake. Like, it's so obviously fake. Like, there was this one episode, and this is what I hate watching it with, like, I've noticed that there's a lot of people in life that just believe everything in reality TV, right? Like, especially in my family, I have people that believe this shit. So I'm like sitting there watching this episode of TLC. And it's this one guy who goes to like a theater with his wife. And he like pours, like, he's just like going to the fucking garbage can, digging out the popcorn bags, finding the fucking cups of Coke that have any refills. I'm like, wait a minute.
He's foraging.
I'm like, now hold on a fucking second, okay? Wait a minute. You're telling me the concessions guy is just letting it happen? They got a whole film crew in the theater. They're watching a movie that obviously isn't playing. Like, what the fuck? Like, Morbius isn't out yet, so you can't do the meme, okay? But obviously, like, what's going on here? It's a complete fucking, and then people believe it. Like, the guy goes to an ice cream place, has like 15 free samples, and the guy's like, hey, you can't do that. I'm like, no, it's a staged thing. And then people are like, how can they stage it? I'm like, oh god, oh fuck, you actually believe this garbage. And that's, that's a TLC meme for me, okay? It's like the same people that watch Dr. Phil and believe that shit. Like, come on.
You don't believe Dr. Phil, dude? You don't think he's a good old country boy?
I don't believe.
Dude, I actually hate Dr. Phil.
I don't even believe Dr. Phil's a real doctor.
He's not, is he? He's a PhD.
He's
just like a psychiatrist. Well, he's like a not like a medical, like he's just a psychiatrist, right?
Psychologist. But I think he's a clinical psychologist. So he can see patients. It's different than like a psychiatrist. Clinical psychologist.
Wait, Emu, are you one of those doctors that like is like, man, the soft sciences? I don't know. It's not like a hard science type thing. Are you?
I don't get that vibe, to be honest.
No, neither do I. I'm just asking.
That's my dad. He's like, every time you talk about...
Because if I'd be a doctor, I would be.
My dad, if you talk about homeopathic medicine, he's like, oh, fuck. All right, hold on.
Okay, that's not even soft science, okay? That's not even soft.
That's not even science.
That's not even science.
That's art.
I was looking into homeopathy at one point because like it's just so interesting that people believe it. Did you know that the more diluted the dose is, the stronger it gets, according to homeopathy?
Mm-hmm.
You know that is actual.
Okay, how does that make any sense? What?
That's it. That's what I'm
that's
saying.
the whole point.
So their rationale, they try to derive their logic from quantum mechanics. And so you know what's interesting? I can tell you, I had a colleague. He was from Germany, and he was I think like one of the top universities in Germany, MD, PhD, and he was into it. I mean, he knew it wasn't for everything, but he was into homeopathy.
Like, is there anything at all like reasonable? Like, let's say, because I know you can. I don't know if inoculate's the right word, but like there's like a hormetic response. Like you can hurt yourself a little bit and then you like grow back stronger. Is there anything to, let's say if you were to do just a small amount of ricin, like a homeopathic amount of ricin, right? Just a little bit of a neurotoxin, right? You know, would that have? Let's say I have about 6 pounds of bitter almonds in my closet, and I were to just eat one a day. What would happen then? What would happen then? Is that homeopathic?
No, dude, you're thinking of like.
How are you not in handcuffs?
Caleb is gonna have many different sized vipers, and he's gonna let the small one bite him first, and then every day he's gonna wean himself on
No, I heard the small ones are more poisonous.
Oh, that's true, according to homeopathy.
I'm gonna have just a little bit of anti-venom.
I got a big viper that bites me every day.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, no, I don't know. I really don't know. That was a genuine question though, like until I started ruining it. But like, is there
the whole thing about like how the body breaks down medicines, kind of like that's really kind of the rationale to say that, hey, this homeopathic stuff, like it kind of goes against the theory that we have. You know, let's just say you take a tablet or a capsule by mouth, and then it goes into your stomach, it goes into your intestines. The first place it absorbs into is into your liver. And your liver is going to just crush like 70% of that dose before it gets to anywhere else in the blood. So it's like, well, if you're eating one bitter almond, it goes into your liver and you're crushing 70% of that dose. It was already only one almond. And then afterwards, It's like basically nothing, right?
Grams of toxins.
So no, you're right. Would not go.
Yeah. As far as I understand, in homeopathy, you can't even like they're based on different elements or whatever. And as far as I understand, you can't even if you gave someone 2 different homeopathic treatments with a lab, they would not be able to detect which is which. That's how minute the dose is. Like it's not actually quantifiable.
There's going to be somebody in the comments that are gonna fight you for.
Oh yeah, they get mad. Yeah. It's a religious thing.
Questions.
Yeah.
I'm just asking questions here.
Oh my
It's beyond science. It's back to religion.
Expanding mind.
Do you ever have like what's the longest thread of like arguments you've seen on your channel? Like we all know that there's like a video on our channel that just has like a fucking. It's just been the comment section is like a long gone. Like it's over. Like it's a nuclear wasteland of fucking toxicity. Which is besides the hydroxychloroquine video. Like what's the other one that you've had that's like just sparked a fucking debate that you just like sat through and
you made
read?
A George Floyd video, didn't you?
Yeah. I made a toxicology report video just based on what was in that report. And then I think I put in that video too, like, hey, in the court, they're going to have to ask more questions. And these are the questions that, you know, you would want to ask based on what we saw in the video too. It was interesting because that comment section, I think Justin Wang tweeted out a couple weeks ago. There was like in response to somebody saying like he like actually showed the picture of the cop on top of George, and then said, "Oh yeah, that one thing that you know everyone," or it was just like kind of making fun of the person making some kind of comment. But what I found interesting was that in the comment section for that video, I mean, there were it just all ends. Like that's the only way I'll describe it is all ends of everything that you can imagine coming out of that. There were a lot of very, very angry people, even going so far as to like emailing me and then sending me not so great things. So I mean,
Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's crazy, dude. The internet kind of sucks a lot of the time, but it's also cool
sometimes,
I guess.
The internet's like, it's one of those things where I feel like back in that 2007, 2008 period, it wasn't like we said earlier, there's like a culture war for everything. It wasn't like that, like deep, But nowadays it's like you can't have a normal discussion without like sparking up irrational anger from every side. Like you can have the best of intentions, but you bring out the worst of people.
Exactly. And it's like my videos, like I make a point to just not say, like I don't want to have that controversy, right? I make the video to just describe like, hey, this is what's up.
Right.
It could go this way, it could go that way, that's it. But people who don't know you, right, they immediately assume, bad intent and then just go all in, right? And it's like, no, like that's not I don't want that. Like I don't want to invite that into my life. I'm just talking, but over years of doing it, you realize, that kind of thing. I mean, you could do it, but it could go one way or the other. So it's always kind of tough because for me, it was just like, hey, the report's out. We can all read it. These are my thoughts on it. This is what I know from my experience. This is how it could go. This is what the court should ask. That was it, right? So,
yeah, it's tough, man. I can't even imagine even doing anything even remotely on something that like, because I mean, a lot of your videos are most of them at least are very just like, I mean, they're all science-based, obviously, but they're very objective and it's just a story. It's a really entertaining story with like actual medical knowledge that's explained in a way that most everybody can understand, and it's explained. It's like almost like a TV show, or it reminds me of a not shit version of the what was that show on Spike? 1,000 Ways to Die or something like that with Ron Perlman. Do you guys remember that? Did you ever see that show?
Yeah, I saw that show.
I used to watch it on repeat when I was a kid because I thought it was so fascinating, and I was just learning of all these new ways to die and these new fears that were just unlocking in my head. And it's basically like that, but for adults. I don't know. I like it. It's a good show. It's crazy that so many people can just take, somehow derive something negative from your videos. It doesn't make any sense. It's just people have like the craziest opinions on shit that you just really don't even need to have opinions on necessarily.
Yeah.
There was so one video in particular that did get people really mad too. And this is in line with the stuff that Muda does, because I remember there was a case that came through our hospital like 10 years ago. Somebody had bought illicits on the dark web, or they claim they did. So whether or not they really did, we don't really know. Because in the hospital, they can tell you anything, and you have to either verify it or you need to figure out what the heck's going on. And so that was a video about mushrooms. And people, they definitely took it as something really like bad intent from my end. And it's like, I didn't say anything negative about mushrooms. Like as a person, I was friends with a lot of those people 20 years ago, right? If you saw a picture of me from like the early 2000s, Grateful Dead shirt, all this other stuff, right? So like that was the group that I was in, but people don't know that. And so when they see the video, they just get they think of all the worst things ever, right? And then they just start attacking you over it. But really,
they think you were part of big anti-fuck shrooms.
Yeah, right. And so like I mean, I wasn't even making a comment on mushrooms. I was actually commenting about cyanide. Like that was the point of the case, was cyanide. Just so happened to be mushrooms were in the title. And so like the other element of it is that a lot of times what you find out when you work with patients is that they'll get their own ideas on how to do things. And when people get their own ideas how to do things, they'll do it in a way that's different than what's like the standard definition. So like microdosing, right? Somebody had got it in their mind that they could inject the mushrooms. They boil it in water, take the little water that resulted from it, like the tea, so to say, and then put it in a syringe and inject it. And then they thought they can think that they're microdosing, right? That's an inference. That's somebody trying to be clever and trying to create their own way of doing things. Probably like 500 years ago, that would be considered a heresy, right? Because now you're getting your own ideas that are off of the mainstream, that is not how it's supposed to be, so to say. Right. So then people got so mad at that in the comments too, like, oh, that's not microdosing. And it's like, I know. Right. I know. But, it's like it's documented to happen that people do inject things that they're not supposed to. Case in point, there's a case report of somebody crushing up a black widow spider and injecting it.
Oh my god.
That's amazing, dude.
Oh my god.
Wait, what?
Oh my lord.
Wait. No.
Visionary.
I need more than the Google scholarship.
Genius.
Like, link on this. What?
Yeah, so this happened in 1996. It was published in the Annals of Emergency Medicine. And so somebody was going through opioid withdrawal. And I don't know exactly the circumstances of it, but they must have lived in an area where there are black widow spiders, so not like super far north in America. But they were able to get a spider. They crushed it up in a mortar and pestle. They put like saline water and then drew it into a syringe and banged it into their veins. And, you get an immune reaction with that. And so it was documented.
Of course.
It wasn't like a full case report. It was like a letter to the editor to say like, hey, this happened.
Bro, that's insane.
Wow, that is wild.
God.
That's wild. That's not anything I would ever consider even thinking of. That's a unique idea.
So now here's the dilemma that I come up with in some of my videos. So,
Caleb, you look impressed.
It's an original idea. What can I say?
so it's like, but if you bring attention to it, then are other people going to do it? Because this like there's almost like a double-edged sword about bringing about awareness. So like I give you an example. The New York Times a couple weeks ago wrote an article about a food preservative that's being sold on Amazon, and people are taking it to just end it all, right? And they're trying to hit Amazon to say like, look, you can't be selling even if it's a food preservative, like you can't sell this because people are taking it as a poison.
Right.
But the same thing also happens with powdered caffeine, and people make their own energy drinks with that. But sometimes they'll accidentally take 5 tablespoons full, and then that's a lethal dose.
Well, yeah, because not to cut off, but when they had when they had TikTok, right? And I know this because they did pre-workout. So like there was a trend on TikTok where like
I remember
they would
that,
take the pre-workout, and the only reason I'm pointing at it is that this is as close to pre-workout as you get, and this is why like you shouldn't just take a scoop of this and like put it in your mouth. That's why you dilute the pre-workout, right? So it's like because they were just doing it like raw, and they were having like their hearts were stopping, and I'm like, guys, what the fuck? You're taking pre-workout raw? Holy shit!
600 milligrams, just eating the what they call it, dry scooping pre-workout. And then, because some of that stuff has like DMAs and like actual like meth type byproducts in it, right? Like there's that one called Jack 3D. I forget what it's called. It's no longer around, but it had like all the gym bros were like, it's got meth in it, dude. You should do it. I was like, fuck no, bro. My heart already beats hard enough as it is.
Fuck that.
I'm good.
TikTok is a special place.
Mm-hmm. Do you ever just like cover the TikTok misinformation side? Do you ever just want to like touch into the TikTok medical misinformation? Because there's a lot of it. There's
a video about dry scooping, maybe almost like exactly a year ago, April 2021. And I actually remember, so dry scooping isn't new from TikTok. I remember because I did powerlifting like 15 years ago, and some people like they didn't bring their cup, so they would just toss the powder and then like chug out of a gallon, right? And then that's how they would do their pre-workout.
It's a thing.
And so that idea made it into TikTok, where people were probably scooping well more, or they were changing the scoop from the original cup. So like now it's like a bigger scoop, and then just hitting it back and downing the whole thing.
A tablespoon
Dry
versus
scooping,
a teaspoon.
Not original idea. Not cool. Crushing a black widow spider and injecting it. Now that's
original. I like that.
Idea.
Well, I used to do the dry scooping. We used to dry scoop C4 and creatine, and then just drink like over a gallon of water. And then my heart would beat really fast, and I would stop. I don't want to do that anymore.
I wouldn't touch that anymore. Like, you have enough of this, like anything, because it's a shit ton of caffeine. So it's like you drink it, and then it's like you can feel that's the only time where I felt my heart going like, okay, that's a lot. Chill out now. Let's not have it for a day or two.
Beating a little fast.
Yeah, like I mean that's obviously going to be a thing. I mean, I don't know. When I look at TikTok, it's just filled with complete destructive misinformation. There was a long time where they do every other month. I swear to God, it always surfaces that Wayfair fucking conspiracy. Where like
they
God, dude.
Walmart, they're like, this cabinet costs $600,000. Is it a?
There's probably a kid in it.
Are they selling kids on TikTok? I'm like,
definitely, bro. Definitely.
Every time.
Like charity things on TikTok too. I mean, it's like for me, I see a lot of like, it's like, it kind of reminds me of like 2012 YouTube with like cinnamon challenge kind of stuff, But like there's also there's some good on there, right? Okay.
There is. Not on my For You page, but it does exist. I'm sure of it.
No, my For You page is fucked, dude. My For You page is just it's like it's just complete utter crap. That's all it is. Like you can't reset the algorithm.
I have an old man on my TikTok that's an old British guy, and I swear he's a time traveler. Someone sent him a phone from the future, like back in like the 1940s, late 30s, like Great Depression era. And he talks about making food. Let me see if I can find one of his videos because it's so. Dude, I swear to God, it's like.
Is his name John Titer?
Wait, this is just him playing shitty. Hold on, wait. This is insane.
Right, he's making AJJ.
He's like 100 years old.
I do, man.
And he talks about how cheap food you can eat. Sausages and little bit of beans. And he just every one of his videos, and they're all going viral. They're all going viral.
The Virgin Mudahar sharing his screen. The Chad Caleb showing his phone to the camera.
He just straight up points.
Yep.
No, that's a. Dude, how does a Chinese government like the guy who sits there coding the fucking AI for TikTok? That's
he sees that and he's like,
that's going crazy.
Yep.
Well,
you know what's interesting? Recently I've been talking with a lot of farmers, and so agriculture is kind of a world that's unknown to me. But a lot of them are kind of worried about what's happening right now because like fertilizer prices and, really like the basic stuff like grains, like the prices in 2022, they're shooting up. So it's like come harvest time and come when you need to plant the seeds in the ground again, right at the end of the year for next year, what happens, right? Because you have to feed the animals. And if you don't have grain to do it, then what are you going to feed them, right? So what happens?
Would they feed them other animals?
Yeah. Massive boost of inflation. Yeah, like where I live currently, that's like people they're running around like with like chickens with their heads cut off because it's pretty bad right now. There's a lot of dairies, and that's what they're worried about because they normally feed them silage, and silage you need to there's like an obscene amount of fertilizer required to do that, and there's just not going to be any in like a year, so they're kind of worried about like what's going to happen. No more milk. No more milk, no more meat. Uh-oh.
No,
that's not good.
Don't say that.
That's not good. I mean, it's true.
I mean, listen, since I want to say when we talked about like Doomsday prepping is the day that I've actually been like Doomsday. I've been Doomsday prepping for like over 2 months at this point, and I'm not like full, you know what I mean? Like fucking the world's ending, boys, lock up on the ammo, but I'm kind of like that, you know? I'm like fucking I've been
on the game for 25 years, man. Just come down to where I am
bunker, dude, like right up here.
Same, bro. We've already got one. We get a C-can.
In Toronto. We get a C-can. Different it was. Like I had to call up like a contractor. I'm like, so, how much would like a nuclear like fucking protected bunker be? And the guy's like, God. Like, I've only heard 2 pauses in my life, like of like disappointment. One was from this guy, and the other one was from my dad. So it's like when I heard that pause, he's like, oh, you're one of those. And I'm like, no, I'll pay. Like, I'm good for it. Like, I will pay.
Just
it's for
rent
a social experiment.
Rent a backhoe, buy a C-can, and then just line the outside with lead. And that can be your nuclear bunker. And then bury it deeper. And then you can have a bunch of other C-cans underground. We didn't used to. We have a plan to build to bury like 4 to have an underground shooting range. You can't like there's no sound, there's no noise pollution.
An underground shooting range,
which is pretty cool. Yeah, a C-can, by the way, if you don't know, is just a large shipping container.
Okay, all right, yeah. No, that's what like the YouTube meta is like. Fucking, this is what the other algorithm that I got too. It's like people who built their houses out of shipping containers. I watched one video and I got like fucking 40 recommended like family people who are just
crazy.
Like,
people do that a lot. They're pretty weak.
They are pretty weak.
Honestly. They're structurally weak.
They also try to gussy up that house and make it look fucking better than it is. I'm like, dude, you got an elongated room. Okay, let's not fucking pretend it's bigger than it is. Sometimes
you got that 8 by 30.
Yeah, like the video starts off really nice. Like, guys, we wanted to disconnect with society and really reconnect with nature, like some wholesome shit. And then they show this house and it looks like a fucking Supermax prison cell. And I'm like, wait a minute, you can't pass this off like it's good. Get out of here. And The best one was like the guy's like, we decided to add an extra story to our house, so they just got another sea can, put it on top, and like chopped half of it off. I'm like, what the fuck? It literally looked like I swear to God, it looks like a fucking like prison cell. Like they have a balcony and everything. I'm like, this is it's. And then you know what else I got? I got the fucking van life videos. You'll never avoid those. Like,
oh my God, dude. You can't have you can't live in a van and not post about it. It's not possible.
I had one guy who's like cooking a gourmet meal in a van. So he cooks this fucking like gourmet meal and shit. And then in the last minute of the video is like laying in his van bench, just like eating the food. Like, well, it had like a really interesting concept, and it looks the most depressive end in my life. I'm like, shit.
That's how they caught Walter White. He just lived in a van, posted it all over social media, and that was it.
Yep. Van life. Van life, Jesse.
I was talking to Wendigoon this week, and he apologized to me for talking about Doomsday prepping too much, and we were like, "Are you kidding me?" That was like one of the highlights of the podcast.
Oh no, really... dude, that's what really like lit a spark under my ass, because I'm like, I gotta prepare for the unexpected. You know,
yeah, the $200,000 bunker coming out of Mudahar's pocket. It's all Wendigoon's fault.
It is funny. It is funny because like I mean he's from Appalachia, like where I'm from, so it's like it's weird that is a thing. Like that's a thing people think of on a consistent basis. Everyone I know, all the Gravy Seals that I know, all the you know, like just the preppers and the folks like that back in Virginia, man, they're all fucking ready, dude. They're all ready as shit. Well, they think they are. They can't run a mile, but they're ready otherwise.
To run 6 feet underground.
They're ready for it.
Yeah, they're ready to run a mile and cause a fucking cardiac and I don't know, fucking arrest. I don't know, die from a stroke, toss a clot.
You know that immediately did remind me of those. Like when you said Gravy Seals, like immediately thought of all the people on TikTok. I don't know why TikTok's hitting me this hard this fucking week, but like, you remember all those people that you just sign on? It's like, guys, I think I have Tourette's. I think I have this mental condition. I was like, oh God, no.
I hate that trend.
Isn't that crazy? That's so. It's like a trend. It's like a I don't know. What are your thoughts on that as an actual doctor?
It's interesting. There's these people on YouTube who do it too. I remember there was like I was looking for something. I think it was like I don't remember. It was something to do with like how to do something in a video to edit, and then the person just kind of like blurted out that they believe they have autism, just like out of nowhere, and I'm just like, what? Like you can't just say it like
like a YouTube tutorial. It's like, okay guys, today we're gonna teach you how to make this really sick After Effects project. Anyways, I'm really good at solving puzzles. Wink, wink. Like, what the fuck?
It was in that vein, and they just said it, and I'm just like, there's like, you need the diagnosis. Like what? And so it was kind of interesting, but yeah, I know on TikTok there was Sunny V2 is like exploding right now. Talking like, didn't he mention the person who faked the Tourette's?
That's he did. I saw it from Charlie, and
there's quite a few.
Charlie covered the fucking Sunny V2 thing. So it's just, like the whole like there's that one girl who like just she like shows her like Tourette tics. I mean, it's so weird. Like, I watched her channel for 5 minutes. Like, I saw the Sunny V2 thing. I'm like, hold on, let me just like look up her channel on TikTok. I didn't even have to watch the rest of the Sunny V2 video. I'm like, in 5 seconds, I just figured out how full of shit this was. And you read the comments, it's like, go off, queen. Like, congrats, you clearly have this Tourette's. And I'm like, is it that easy?
Life's like an RPG, man. You just start adding shit. You start getting new skills.
I'm like,
then eventually you're gonna be like a level 100.
But is it that easy to just like be in it?
Yeah,
like,
it is.
Man, I mean, shit. I'm down for it, Christ.
For the most people. For the meek, I guess.
I don't know. I'm done. I stopped the TikTok when they removed my favorite channels, when they removed the North Korean propaganda. At that point, I just quit. Like,
oh yeah, I remember that.
That's the same with YouTube, dude. I had like a follow-up video for that. So here's the thing: when I do my videos, I like prep everything, and then I like cover it like in the hour recording. So this one time, I'm like so excited. I'm on my drive home from Toronto, right? And I have this entire epic North Korea 2 video prep, right? The North Korean propaganda. I come home, YouTube has removed channel. TikTok has removed the channel. I'm like, what? What the fuck? They all unanimously removed the North Korean content? Fucking why? And it was like the best content ever. Like, the North Korean. dude, the North Koreans would walk in. It's like, we got a grocery store, guys. Food. Look at that.
Check
Look at
this
that.
grocery store out.
Check this cereal
2
box.
different types of cereal. 2.
I love the North Koreans. Like, they all have the face of, like, they know that they don't have food in their country, but hey, at least we have one fat guy, so it's got to stand for something, right? Like, shit.
Yep.
And then I had this one thing where, like, I wanted to make this video, but it's, like, completely, like, backed up because I've said some really fucked up jokes in it. Because it was like, I wanted to Google, like, Street View Pyongyang, you know what I mean? Like, I just wanted to, like, check it out. They have, like, literally 8 Street View points. Just 8 points that you can, like, drop a pin on and see the reality of the country. And it's all the most carefully fabricated propaganda you'll ever find. Like, there's one where, like, they have their, like, park, right? Like, they have their version of Central Park, I guess you could say. So you click on it. Dude, there's, like, 10 weddings going on in one day.
Yeah.
I swear to, like, you drop a pin on it, it's like 10 people are getting married. There's like 10 brides all getting married in one location. There's this guy, like, they have one dude holding... There's one dude holding his, like, smartphone. Like, I have a phone. As you can see, this is a real prosperous nation right here. I'm taking a selfie with the family.
It's an iPhone, too.
No, it's not an iPhone. It's an Ari phone.
No, it is. Definitely is an iPhone, for sure.
No, it's better.
He's rich.
It's better than a fucking iPhone. What are you, evil American technology? What the fuck? I tried getting my hands on one of their smartphones. I really did, but it's hard, man. Like, I tried to, like, fucking... I almost got in touch with, like, a fucking smuggler that was able to find a phone, but that just didn't work. Like, it just never played out. Like, I was getting scammed at some point, but I literally was getting in touch with, like, smugglers from the country. I'm like, Chinese smugglers. I'm like, listen, I need North Korean smartphones. And I felt like to them, I sounded like some fucking crazy CIA agent, you know what I mean? Like somebody that would just need, like, North Korean tech
I need 60 smartphones.
Like, at some point, the guy was asking, like, who I was and what I did, and I'm like, I'm not gonna tell him that I'm some, like, fat Indian guy that just wants to have, like, North Korean smartphones just to, like, fire up and, like, laugh at for a few minutes. But, like, that was pretty much the end case. It's so hard getting anything out. I actually do want to go to that country. I'm actually planning on, but I don't even know if I'll make it out back from it, to be honest. Like,
You probably won't.
I won't.
To be honest.
I'll go there and it's just, all right, boys. Like, this will be like my channel, right? Like, the last video will be like, hey guys, I'm going to North Korea for a video, and that's it. Like, it's over. Like,
wait,
no fucking...
Nux, can people from Israel go to North Korea?
I have no idea.
Okay.
Not the slightest clue.
Because I've talked to people in countries that can go to North Korea.
I'm sure Canadians can.
Yeah, but like go like
Probably.
freely. I think maybe Canada can. But I mean, China is what 1.4 billion people. But I've talked to a couple people, and they say, like, you know, they have family that'll go to North Korea for business, like, you know, every couple months. And to me, like, that's
that's crazy.
Like,
Yeah,
you can't even think about going from here, right?
I'm pretty sure Americans can go, right? Like,
Yeah, you can.
on
It's
a
just
travel thing.
Yeah.
Like,
Speaking of Israel, I don't know if you heard, last Thursday there was a shooting in Tel Aviv.
I did. I heard. I saw the video.
Yeah,
I think
dude shot like 6 people.
Okay, yeah, I've seen the video.
I was there. I was actually there when it happened. It happened in a bar, and I was in the train station, which was next door to the bar. I
That's
heard
insane.
it happen. Like, it was actually terrifying.
Dude, holy fuck, man.
Yeah.
Jesus.
I was supposed to record a video with someone at the time, and they messaged me, and I'm like, yeah, I'm going to be late. You know.
You were just like, yeah, I'm gonna be late. There's a shooting in my area.
Yeah, it was just,
yeah.
Just
no
Tel
big deal.
Aviv things, you know? Fuck.
Yeah, whatever.
What?
Yeah, it was one of the scariest moments I've
I thought my time in Texas was scary. I had like one active shooter in San Antonio, and they were just, the bartender was like, "No, it happens. The cops will sort it out. Don't worry about it."
normal,
I'm like,
Yeah.
"Oh, is this normal for you guys down here? Okay, sick, cool. Give me more beer, sweet." Jesus Christ!
I have a good question for you, Emu. Let's see. This is a terrible question, but it's going to be a really good
God.
question. When
He's
do you
prepping
plan
it.
on going full time on YouTube? I'm just kidding.
So
But
I mean, it's like a constant fight, because it's like, you know, I
Right.
do YouTube, I'm on Snapchat too, and then I
Right.
have a
My
podcast
apologies.
channel, although it's just really more in-depth videos. But, you know, working full time on top of doing all of it, it's like there was a point last year where, like, because I was doing Snapchat weekly, and that's still not even daily. Like that's just weekly, right? And like I was about to crack. I think I got to like video number 12, so I'd been doing it 3 months, and like I was in the process of like there were so many changes going on, but like I basically like cracked at that point.
Are you a one-man show?
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's insane.
Yes.
That's crazy.
I edit my own videos. I even have to like cast the actors, and then I go and haul all my stuff. Sometimes I'll have like a production assistant to help me like set up some of the stuff, but otherwise it's like, you know, I write, I draw, I film.
Damn,
that's incredible.
That's insane.
And also a doctor.
Right, and that.
Yeah,
Yo, when are you
working full
boxing?
time, so it's,
I hear that's the thing doctors on YouTube do these days.
I do need to like hire somebody because it's
yeah.
Like I said, I almost cracked last year, and I'm like, this is not, I can't keep doing this.
Delegate, man. You gotta learn how to delegate.
So you're not planning on boxing Caleb in the creator class?
God no, dude. No, learn how. Yeah. No, yeah, because like the doctor world is full of like assistants, right? Like it's very like there's a lot I'm assuming you've been doing it for a while, so there's a lot you get to delegate down.
So
right?
what's interesting is that like I mean I'm working in a really large organization, right? So it's like it's really amazing how narrow scope you can take your role, whereas on YouTube stuff, like if the camera, if nobody touches, if you don't touch the camera, no one's gonna touch the camera, so it's not gonna move, right? Whereas when you're in like a team of like 60 people, you don't want somebody to touch the camera, like that's not going to happen. Someone's going to touch the camera, right? And so it's that was what was interesting. I was in Texas last week for like a big meeting, and it's just the amount of help that you can get that's just available there. Like like when they wanted to record a video, right, of like saying hello to everyone on the team, you can literally just stand there and there's like 20 people moving around lights, setting up the camera, getting the audio, laving people up, arranging the frame and everything. And I'm just like, that's nice, right? But
yeah, that's awesome. That's what I figured. That was my delegation joke. I'm sure you probably know pretty well. I'll just stop talking.
Yeah, like you get people to like help set up the meetings and like like actually, and even just like get the agenda for the meeting, what you're going to talk about, what you need to know about this particular person you're meeting with, all the research that they've done, where they are, and how they've helped out with whatever they're doing at that particular point in time. So it's just it is so much easier. But if you think about it, it's like for a small scale, like I would have to make more videos, like a lot more videos to scale it up, almost to like because I still have big organization mindset, because it's like even like at the hospital, huge crew. When you're on the corporate side doing research, the teams are massive, right? And so the only analog that I can think of to that on the YouTube space would be something like a Darman level type of production, right?
Right.
And like I know Darman's got a lot of people. You can even see it in his behind the scenes channel where there's just people everywhere, right? And like that's like you'd have to scale up and have like you'd probably need a backlog, right, where you have videos ready for like the next 3 months, and it'd be like on a daily cadence, and you're doing Snapchat, you're doing
it'd be like a Linus Tech Tips level production, right? Because like, he's the only analog in like the tech industry that I feel like is kind of like that, where like they're daily uploaders, but obviously very structured uploads. Like they definitely have ideas for like, I mean, they're a whole organization, right? Like you're having meetings every day about like what kind of, like for me, like I wake up and I'm like, this is like I have my schedule on my phone, right? Like I'm like, this is what I want to cover, right? That's pretty much me. And then obviously when you scale up,
same thing.
When you scale up, it's like, okay, guys, we're going to be in our boardroom talking about what video we're going to upload. Like, imagine, like, there's a universe out there where, like, eventually the shit poster becomes so big that they have to have board meetings about how to shit post, like actual corporate board meetings,
Dude, Mr. Beast started off with turning the camera on and saying PewDiePie 100,000 times, okay? And he's basically doing.
Now he's like talking about, so what shit post are we doing? How much money are we tossing today?
Yo,
I say we should do a video idea. We should all pool our money. We should pool our money together and give it to Mr. Beast for a video.
Oh, that would be crazy. He needs our money.
I'm still saying that.
I think he needs the money.
I'm still saying that NFT idea would fucking kick ass. Like one of us just draw a stick figure and we just sell it amongst ourselves and wait for a dumbass to buy it and give the proceeds to charity. I still feel like that'd be this like some fucking moron bought a stick figure for $1 million and we just gave it to charity, and the guy's like, "Hey guys, I own the NFT stick figure." We're like, "Yeah, dude, congratulations. We made that in like 20 minutes." Oh,
I would totally be down to do that.
Have you ever accidentally thrown away your life earnings on stupid cryptocurrencies like that? Poop coin. If you be honest, we've all. I've done it.
So I haven't. I'll say this is kind of what blew my mind. Last year, my dad, who like can hardly send an email right now because he just doesn't know how to use computer stuff. I like went home probably around like May after Elon was on SNL. And then my dad had a ledger and he's like, "I have Dogecoin." And I'm like, "What?" And I was like, "Wait, what?" And so like I plugged the ledger in and like I looked at the software and there was Dogecoin on the thing. I'm like, "How? Like you don't even know how to check email. Like where did you get this thing from?"
Oh my God.
Did you give him like the whole rap? Did you like, "Hey Dad, maybe don't buy poop coin. Don't buy Save the Kids token, Dad. It's not smart."
Oh yeah. I just kind of told him, I'm like, yeah, I don't know,
awesome.
Just be careful with this kind of stuff. I mean, it's cool. I don't really have like a strong opinion one way for or against it, but you know, I see the point, right? Because I remember in 2009 when Satoshi wrote that the first block, right? He put that in there. Chancellor bails out banks for the second or third time, right? And it's like around that time, like I had finished college like a couple years before. And so it's like, you're graduating and then the recession hits and like I'm coming from the Midwest. And it's like when you graduate and your undergrad was in engineering, that's like contingent on needing like new projects and needing new capital to fund these new projects. But it's just not there in the region of the country. Like everything's moving to the coast. So it was just like everything was a disaster. And so like Bitcoin, I remember like as it grew over the months and years, like it was like refreshing to see like, hey, there's people trying to do something about what's happening that we just don't have control over. But now it like if it morphed into something that people don't want, maybe we're just in that time period where it's just kind of like
we're in that like hazing period. I think. Well, I wouldn't even say it's like a hazing period. I think it's just like we obviously have like the pillars of that kind of like crypto world. Like you'll have your Bitcoin, you'll have your Ethereum, you'll have your strong projects that'll never go away. But then like it's like, okay, it's easy. Like I think you have general knowledge. You'll be like, that's like the good pillar. And then like you look at fucking, oh guys, here's Stick Dicks NFT project, like just stick characters with dicks on it. Like that
quality
that seems
NFTs.
like I should throw thousands of dollars into. But like at that point, I think it's like that's more of a Darwin thing, right? Like that's just
We're just rooting out the idiots.
Yeah, exactly. You're weeding out the fiscally challenged is what you're doing, right? Like,
fiscally challenged.
What you're doing, right? Like, I
like that.
Who, like,
even YouTube wouldn't demonetize.
No,
that.
they wouldn't. They wouldn't do that. No, this is scientific. Okay, I have close friends who like I just recently rekindled my connection with from college and everything, and I went over to one of their houses, right? And it was like nice and everything, and he took me up to like his office, and I was like, oh cool, let's catch up. Guys like opening up OpenSea.io. He's like, I'm gonna buy and mint these things. I'm like, oh man, not this shit again. And he was trying to like, so he doesn't know what I do, right? Like, for all he knows is I'm still an engineer, right?
He doesn't know he's going to be the thumbnail on your next video.
Because I never tell people like what I do. Like I never tell people anything, right? Like I don't even tell people I'm not an engineer. I haven't been one for like years, like fucking for eons at this point, right? Like an internet time. But like people obviously that have studied with me, they're like, oh, this is what you're into. This is what we did together. So clearly you've never done a career change in your life, okay? So I'm sitting over there and they're trying to like tell me about all these projects and fucking how they're gonna jump up 300,000x, and I'm just like sitting there, I'm like, oh man, not this shit again. And I didn't have the heart to tell him. I didn't even know. Like he was trying to tell me, I'm like, yeah, you're right, man. You're awesome. Good for you. Great.
Oh, this is Jose.
Like I was dying inside. I'm like, man, if he just like did one Google name on me, like if he just searched up the Google, he'd find like all this nasty shit that I've said about his fucking pride and joy. Like that was the one time where I met up with my friend and I'm like, I can't wait to leave. Like the whole drive home, I'm like, oh fuck, man, that was a missile dodged. No.
Well, Emu, I have a question for you. As a doctor that deals with life and death situations, what's more stressful? Your work in the hospital or the internet mob?
Oh, if you say the internet mob, I swear I'm gonna fucking kill you.
So
okay, that's not fair. You biased him. That's not fair.
I'll give you the merging of both. So last year I did a video with a veteran who served in the Middle East in 2005. So she came from a military family, and she was, I think her dad was a Marine, her grandpa was a Marine, she became a Marine, and so she was deployed to the Middle East in 2005. The Congress has a policy of military waste either needs to be incinerated at the spot or flown back to the United States. So they elected to burn it because it's cheaper, but they did it right at the forward operating base where she was at, and they basically, it was called a burn pit. So they would throw garbage like tires, just the shells from like missiles or whatever, and they would pour kerosene all over it and then just light it on fire. And so you just have smoke and smog coming up, the particulate matter from burning all of that, and it would, like, the wind would blow, right? I mean, the wind blows, right, and then everyone staying at that operating base now is breathing in stuff. And so she came back, she didn't feel right at first, but, wasn't too big a deal. And then in 2018, she was 38 years old, and then she was diagnosed with stage 4 breast cancer. So it had already spread everywhere. And it was just on a routine check that they found it. So I worked on the video because I was invited by some friends that I had in DC who were doing it. And so we interviewed and we talked with her. I went over to Houston to get a breast cancer expert, one of like personal friends of mine, who also talked about the case because she's been seeing a lot of these referrals. I remember hearing about this back in 2011 when some of the, I don't think it was like some of the first people, but it was a group of people coming back and they just had like respiratory problems. And they were like, was it because we were burning that stuff and we were just breathing it in? Like it was stuck in our air conditioners. It was just like caked everywhere. It's just black smog, little particulates, and we know it was going into our lungs. And so unfortunately last week, I got news that she had passed away. And so Jesus. Like that's it, that's like the merging of my professional and my YouTube work is that, when you're doing work in cancer and you're seeing like, you're working with these patients and then you do the videos talking about it, that's where it merged. So it's really difficult to actually see people like die in front of you, right? And like when you're in the hospital, when you're in the emergency room, it happens, right? It's like, and then to see the fallout, like when the family is right there, as the patient's heart just stops beating. All of a sudden, the emergency room, like everyone converges on the loudspeakers up on the ceiling. There's like, hey, there's a code, go to this bed. So everyone's there. You have the resident or the fellow doing CPR. You have people like the nurses, and they're like shouting for the medications. Everyone's trying to be calm. Like, we're going to do the CPR. We're going to see if we can bring the patient back. But sometimes it's 30 minutes, 40 minutes, and the attending says, hey, like it's done. Like this person's not coming back. And then you just see the fallout from the family as they realize what it means that the code is called. And you just see like the breakdown. Like to me, I'll never forget it. And there, like, I don't think there is an internet mob that can just mimic
that.
It wouldn't even come close.
Just a different plane of reality.
I mean, it is reality, right? Like, I mean, with the computer, you can obviously just turn off. Like, you can just sign out of YouTube and like close the page and ignore and move on with your day. But like, obviously, when you're in a situation like that,
perspective.
It's it's literally just in front of you. Like you can't even like block it off if you wanted to. You can't like. You can't even like leave, right? Like you're there for the entire duration, whether you want it to or not. Like that's the key difference.
I kind of feel like an asshole for asking the question.
No.
Now.
I mean, it's like a reality. And the thing is, like, I a lot of times in the YouTube videos, like I do understate it because it's like you don't, because it's not just the algorithm that might be like, oh, you can't talk about people passing, but people also in general, right? A lot of people have had those kinds of experiences before. And like, if they're trying to enjoy a video and then you go into the weeds describing about how somebody just isn't alive anymore, like then people take that very negatively and they're like, that's it, we're not watching this anymore.
Yeah, I mean, I think most people want to watch a YouTube video to like gain some uplifting stuff out of it, but like usually when you have like the end of it, like, you know, that is, I don't know, I've turned off videos when it comes to like that kind of, I mean, on a personal level, like I just watching people, like obviously watching that end, just, I don't know, it'll fuck you up for the rest of the day, the week, the you know, your respective time frame, if you will. But yeah, that's generally, I don't know, it's a good thing that like there's that like separation, and like it's, I don't know, it's like it really does set into perspective how like almost irrelevant the internet side of the spectrum is, you know what I mean, when you compare it to like just reality, right? Like obviously when you get like a refresher like that hit you, because it's like it is one of the reasons why I don't take the internet like too seriously. And obviously it's
not reality.
That's why like even like in our scale, right, like in medicine, obviously you have to deal with like literally life and death situations with computers and like TikTok and like, you know, fat people. Just not that like level of an overlap.
Well, I mean,
it could it could be that, you know, the Nikocado avocado, like I'm sure I don't know.
He will eventually die.
You said that he probably won't. You said that he's a smart nutritionist guy, so maybe it'll change.
Well, so I didn't say that he was smart, but he definitely understands. So like he claims to have a nutritionist that he consults with on a consistent basis, and that one of the things that he does specifically is when he eats foods that are high in saturated fats and like fast food, etc. He never drinks any sugar. He never drinks anything that's just an instant like spike of insulin, right? So like and I don't really know a lot about it, obviously, but he also seems to know not that much about it, but he claims to have a consultant, and then he's gaining weight in the most intelligent way possible, which I don't think being morbidly obese is healthy in any sense, whether you're really muscular and you're morbidly obese in that way, or if you just have too much body mass, your heart still has to beat and like supply oxygen and nutrients to your brain. So, and without that,
dude, he's like a rare exception. The mukbang community is a very, very scary part, because it's like, it's always funny because like a year, like somebody's like, I'm going into mukbang, and they look totally healthy, and then like 365 days later, it's like complete.
I thought you were gonna say 365 pounds later.
So I have two questions. One is, what is your thoughts personally on mukbangs, Emu? And then also, there's a thing that's going on in New Jersey that I heard about recently in a town called Colonia or something like that. It's in New Jersey. Almost 100 people from a high school in New Jersey, all have the same type of brain tumor.
What?
Almost 100 people. And it's like 1 in 100,000 is like the rarity. And beyond that, I really don't know. I don't think there is a lot of information as to like what could have potentially caused it. Some people think like radiation, something like that. I'm not exactly sure, but it's almost 100 people I know factually have had the same type of brain tumor from one high school, which is just,
oh my God,
astronomical odds, right? That's like impossible.
94 people in one high school have developed brain tumors. What the fuck?
That I would say that's statistically significant. For
definitely.
Yeah, that's interesting. I hadn't heard of that.
1 in 100,000 to like what? 1 in 1,000, right?
Yeah.
That's crazy. It's 100 times more likely than average.
Yeah, apparently they're testing the air and soil for like radiation out there for sure, right? I mean, that's about the most you can do, right? Like in a situation, but like fuck.
Yeah, well, like, what else could it be unless there's like actuals? I mean, because how could you even replicate brain tumor like that type of brain? Like, how could that? What specifically is just causing brain tumors?
That's a good question.
You know?
There could be something with whatever's causing it that just so happens to target those particular cells.
It seems like something might be in the food or something. Like, honestly, it seems like something has to be in like the food in that community.
This would be the second time New Jersey's been implicated in like this kind of because there were the radium girls like 100 years ago, right? They would use like radioactive paint on watches because it would glow in the dark.
I heard of that.
Yeah, and then they would lick the paintbrushes to wet them. And
Geniuses.
in the nightclubs, right, they thought it was cool because their lower jaw was glowing in the nightclub. And then it turns out 5 or 6 years later, those jaws fell off, and they had to do a lawsuit against the employer who didn't have like the safety protocols in place. And then they were so weak that even when the lawsuit was settled, they couldn't even go because they were just incapacitated in bed. But it opened up radiation oncology as like a discipline inside the care of cancer.
What the fuck?
Yeah, because like food is an example. I don't really know. Like I do a lot of research on nutrition, and I try to take like a lot of that stuff fairly seriously, and have for a long time. By no means am a doctor or have any reasonable level of certification to have any weight with any advice that I may give. But like, how like as an understanding, how can you like, what could you possibly eat that could replicate a brain tumor every time? Because like everyone's body metabolizes like large scale things similarly, and then like micro level things differently in some aspect. How could you possibly replicate a brain tumor if it's food? And if it's not food, what could it be? Someone blasting radiation into their heads, like when they're in a class or something? Like how does that work?
Yeah, I mean, it'd be more likely to be the radiation rather than the food. Because think about it, when you eat the food, it's like, why wouldn't, like if it's really altering
if it's your
like
stomach,
cellular DNA,
liver,
wouldn't it alter in the stomach or the gut? Or the liver, right? One of those. So
I mean, is it like something in the fumes or something? Like, like that's what I think when I think of like brain cancer. I'm like, is there? Because you're right. Unless it's like and I don't want to like the problem with talking about this is like we don't believe in conspiracy theories. I don't think this is like a government like fucking psyop or anything. Like
I want to know what happened. I'm just genuinely interested
because it's like you literally are like blasting radiation or. Again, it might just be something in like maybe there's like fumes or some fucking maybe it's like something in that area, like just that's kicking off. But why the high school kids? So like why? Because then like if it's a brain tumor, then it shouldn't just affect kids, right? Like or like adolescents. It should affect everyone. Like it should have a wider range.
The staff, right?
What if the kids are doing some crazy fucking unknown trend? Like some unknown medical trend that we have no fucking idea of. Like, what if that's now that I'm thinking about it, I'm like, if it's just kids, what if they're doing like some underground social media shit in like New Jersey and in the school, and that's what's giving them fucking cancer? Like, because the teachers aren't falling for it.
I can't imagine it. It wouldn't be localized to New Jersey then. Like,
no, like it's really.
If it was a social media trend, then it would be
like really like old school social media trend. Like fucking, they're just sharing it amongst themselves.
I think we're onto something, guys.
Yeah,
I think we're definitely figuring this out for sure.
It has to be something they talk about in the fucking cafeteria, Like all of them are just getting together because it's like literally one group of students. And look, the reason I say it is like back when we were all younger, right? Like we didn't have like the internet as prevalent as it was now, so we weren't like. Like back in my like years in like middle school, like we didn't have, or high school even, like until halfway through high school, phones started to become like mainstream, right? Like people had like, and it wasn't like smartphones. People had like fucking, dumb flip phones and shit. And like we were just starting to like text each other. Mom and dad just bought us the fucking plan to send some text back and forth. But like that's what I imagine, right? Like, cause we're not so connected online. We're like still communicating. We're still going to functions. We're still like, our social circle is still very much limited to the people around us in school. So it's like maybe
God's just out there trying to punish them for their terrible accent.
Maybe.
I don't know. I'm just trying to think out of the box. It's like
I don't know, man. The Jersey is a wild fucking place. So a lot of shit could happen out there.
Jersey is really its own world, and I lived there for a while. So yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, every time I drive through Pennsylvania and Jersey, it's a fucking different, like, it's a whole separate subsection of the United States, the world, even, if you will. But I don't know.
I will.
Yeah,
we might.
So we mentioned a couple weeks ago when we were talking about conspiracy theories, the dancing plague.
Oh yeah, that's right. I remember that. Yeah.
Yeah, so what's your take on that? Just to sum up, dancing plague, something that happened like 500 years ago or whatever, where a lot of people in a city, everyone just started dancing and they couldn't stop dancing until they literally died of fatigue from dancing. And like people would have to feed them while they were dancing because they could not stop dancing until they literally died.
I bought a book a couple years ago that talked about like all the different records that they like the contemporary records they were trying to like recover from people like writing about it. I think it happened is it like Germany-ish area? And so yeah, Europe, just people couldn't stop dancing. It was like right at the foothills of the Protestant Reformation that was going to happen. soon. So I don't know. Like, was there because if you read the book about the fourth turning, the Protestant Reformation is like the 1960s, right? Like 500 years ago's 1960s for us. So I don't know. Was there something in the water? Like, was there? Did the Grateful Dead travel back in time and they just started?
I don't know. It's kind of funny.
60-minute jam band tunes out in Bavaria.
I think of the Dancing Plague. I just finished my annual rewatch of BoJack Horseman, and like, there's this song, "Don't stop dancing, don't stop dancing till the curtains fall," and somebody that sings that song dies. So every time I see that, I'm like, oh my god, the Dancing Plague. It connects the neurons.
So it brings up like something about history that I didn't realize until like we started experiencing it ourselves. So like I remember maybe like 20 years ago, there was I was at this talk, and they were it was like don't ask why. It was like this libertarian group, like it was like kind of like college or like late high school, college kind of stuff. They were talking about like libertarian ideas. And I remember distinctly the speaker said there is a case for government in the setting of a pandemic. Like I remember them saying that clearly. And then I remember there's somebody on YouTube. He's a theologian, and it's named Ryan Reeves is the name of the YouTube channel. But he talked about the Black Death. And if you look in early 2020, like just before COVID really became a thing, I think there was a New York Times article that was written about, there was a documentation, I think 1400s Italy, where there was a family that was defying quarantine orders by dancing on their front lawn. And the police came and took them away. Like, and because you were supposed to be locked in your house. And so like in modern times, we saw the analog of that, right? Maybe it wasn't exactly the same, but we saw the analog of it. And in the pandemic records that we have, we don't have records of people doing things like promoting false treatments or saying like, oh, the death rate's not that bad, right? Like that kind of stuff. But I'm almost 100% sure if smallpox wiped out 90% of, Central America, as we were told, like what was in the record to have reflected that there were probably people on the native side that said, oh no, there's no such thing as disease, right? That must have happened, but we don't have written record of it. And so like now that we've experienced it ourselves, it's like, is that like the people screaming about masks or, not wearing masks? Like, is that not going to make it into 200, 300, 400 years later in the future when they read back about it?
The big difference, though, is today, because of the internet, everyone has a voice. Back in the day,
how accessible will all that be, though?
Right.
Like,
record keeping has become like more normative. Like, it's I wouldn't say record keeping, but like redundancy of that data exists, right? Like, if somebody doesn't want to retain data, you'll always have like 300, 400 other sources, right? Like, and then obviously you can aggregate that data and find out how legitimate it is, right? Like, regardless of what biases people want to put into like, where like, do this protective thing or don't do it, right? Like, you'll always be able to have these hard numbers preserved by like various groups internationally, right? Like, it'll be the US keeping the group, the Chinese, the Russians, the Indians, and like you can aggregate that information and be like, who's telling falsehoods? When does the information average out to be?
Right. For a lot of those they would be considered primary sources, right? Mm-hmm. And so the fact that Italian family was documented to have defied quarantine orders, I suspect, kind of guessing at how people behave in a pandemic, it wasn't just them. There were probably a lot of people that were defying orders like that.
Dancing.
And so like if they abstract the sources beyond primary, because no one's going to read an Italian police document from 600 years ago, but what a history book might write is that, oh, everyone was scared of dying from the Black Death, so they all locked themselves in the door, and like that's the end of the sentence. And so like we get the sense of, oh, it really was really awful back then, and there was 100% agreement that you had to stay inside. And, that could happen to us in our time, where somebody like 100 years down the line would just say, oh, yeah, the respiratory infection, killed so many people that everyone just stayed inside, and that led to all the other problems that came up.
They'll ignore the whole like protests and everything that we've
right, over half basically of everyone just not even. Yeah, that's that. I've been thinking about that a lot, and my cousin actually lives with me, is like a war expert. He studies a lot of like historical war stuff, and just the gross percentage that almost all like all of history in terms of war is like what percent propaganda, right? Because the side who won is the side who gets to write the like. How does that? Exactly. Yeah, right. Exactly. Yeah. So what? And that has to carry over to everything else. Or why would you write something down historic like? If so, like as to what you're saying with this pandemic, they're not even going to necessarily, because why would they say that? Oh, also a bunch of people, didn't wear masks and got really mad, and they're like,
the state
pulling
of
their
Texas now,
amendment
they
rights.
Didn't really fucking believe in this to be Florida.
Yeah, so like Texas history will be different, right? But yeah, so like what you're saying, go back to the dancing people. That's what I said, I believe, in that episode was that it was probably just some guy who just didn't like those people or didn't want them to go up there, and he just told a fucking story. Like if there's not like a legitimately like well done, well documented from every single angle and facet by some kind of trustworthy source, potentially even a bureaucracy, right? That documents this for a reason beyond just to tell someone a story. How is it accurate in anything in history? I mean, there's the Homer's Odyssey. What percent of that is reality? It's like only a couple thousand years old,
I think what's really just changing it is like
all of it.
I think what may be the change in this versus other pandemics, and even in the future far off, and this goes beyond medicine. It can go to like political events. It could go to like just societal evolution. Is like everyone can like whip out a phone and start recording things, right? Like those video files.
Yeah, there's visual proof.
That visual proof will always exist. Like because. One thing that I think separates is like when you get taught like in U.S. history class, right? The pretty standard U.S. standard class, they teach you everything, right? Like you have a whole section about the Vietnam War, right? They teach you all about the fucking Vietnam War. They don't fucking teach you about what the fuck the CIA was doing during the Vietnam War, because if they did, holy fuck.
Or the Gulf of Tonkin.
and then like you'll have people who like, they'll look into records. They'll be like, what was really going on in the Vietnam War? And then you're like looking through declassified files, like we were pretty fucked up. Everyone was really fucked up. So obviously they'll never include that. But I think the more time goes on, the more records are kept from various parties, the more visual proof exists. Very important. The more visual proof exists, and it's not struck down, and it stays on like, standard mainstream platforms for everyone to like quickly look up. And I'm not talking, hey guys, this is on like BitChute or like other fucking platforms that have been like repurposed by like actual fucking, like just if you can look up actual like visual proof, then people can like think for themselves, and people can be like, oh, this wasn't like it was in the textbook, 50% of people
are going
not.
to keep bringing back the old tweets on Twitter, as it's going to be called.
Yeah, like Elon Musk. Like if a textbook in the future says the great state of Florida definitely fucking masked up and never partied and maintained everything, it takes.
When a really good example when so I was homeschooled, as you guys know. And it was not for religious purposes. So there was no I learned about science. I took a lot more science classes, particularly in like nutrition and medicine. I took a lot of like extra classes. And but the one thing that was extremely lacking that I just had to go on the internet or go to the library to learn about was history. And there was a medical history book that I don't know if this is true. I'm sure you can tell me. I've never looked it up, but it's just stuck in my head. I can't imagine it being true. The book was written in 1986. Okay, I remember that. And it stated that 1 in 5 people have AIDS. 1 in 5 people. What? My medical history book told me that 1 in 5. And I was like, well, there's no fucking way, because I can think of 20 people right now. None of them have AIDS. And obviously it's from the 80s. But I can't imagine that in the 80s, 1 in 5 people had AIDS. And this is a Pearson?
1 in 5.
Pearson medical history book.
That means
it's a Pearson. It was an actual medical, like an actual book for
be honest. Who here
learning.
has AIDS? Be honest. Who here has AIDS?
Space AIDS.
Anyway, so Twitter, Elon Musk.
Yeah, no. But how crazy is that though? Like just speaking to have another reference of what I was taught in school, not by my mom, but like as a part of the program. there was an extremely outdated book that in the 80s, I mean, how does that affect the thousands of people that read it and believed it?
Well, it sticks with them with their whole fucking life,
You know?
right? Like, there's a lot of people who read like one thing on Reddit and they believe it for the next 15 years. I made an ass of myself, like literally yesterday, because I made this whole video about like the end of the world for 32-bit computers, because like 2038 is when like, you know, the integer value fucks up and computers go from
kind of, right?
Yeah, like well, it's computers believe 2038, and then it's like, oh, suddenly it's 1901. And I was talking about calendars, and I was like, okay, so BC is before Christ and 80 is after death. And the entire comment section for the first 10 minutes like, actually, it's Anno Domini if your Latin was good. And I'm like, I fucked up there.
All right, bro.
I always thought it was after death.
Technically, Jesus didn't even die till 35 AD. He was born. He was born in
some people
01.
would be like, Jesus never died.
01.
Okay, no, never was gone. So I learned that it was the year of the Lord.
I've seen him.
I know. I've seen him.
He's on YouTube. His name's Charlie White.
You know what's funny? It's like even my family members who like fucking I've shown them that because I wanted to do like the is he Jesus test. And I'm like, look at that. It's like, that man looks like Christ. And I'm like,
my mom asks me when Christ is getting his own flavor of Sour Boys. I'm like, Mom, what are you doing? You're going to meet him. You can't call him Christ.
It's like that. It's like that or like, it's that or Keanu Reeves. One or the other. They always like kind of like screw up on him. Like, I'm like, that's where he made a whole video about like fucking how people on Facebook were calling him Jesus Christ.
Yeah,
is like what funny, Facebook dude. Moms or something was the title of it.
Yeah.
I
don't know. Facebook to me personally feels like a platform that needs to be like fucking cleansed off the face of the earth. Every day I sign onto it.
Yeah, it's
fucking
not
dog shit platform. Fucking garbage. I could literally just say I could say that I'm the president of the United States, and I swear to God, fucking they'd believe me. They'd be like, you know what? That's a cool looking graphic. I'm going to share this around. I believe it because it's on the internet and it must be true.
President Mudahar.
Absolutely. The only reason I believe that is because I know my grandparents who've never known how to use a computer have finally signed on like Facebook, and like they just like fucking browse through tabs. And I'm like, wait, you couldn't even power on the iPad before. How the fuck are you signed on to Facebook? Sorry, Meta now. What? What the fuck? I don't know.
Also, to circle back around, Emu, what is your thoughts on mukbang content from a health perspective, from a medical perspective?
I was gonna say like from a cultural perspective,
or either. I mean, how does it relate to what you are an expert in?
The cultural perspective, like I know it came from Korea, right? South Korea, and then I asked some people in mainland China what they thought about it. They're mixed. So some people say they really love it. Some people are like, oh God, like disgusting or whatever. It's just kind of like personal preference. So there is like some diversity of opinion on it there. But just from a cultural standpoint, from me, I don't know. I don't watch it. Like if I'm eating, I don't want to have somebody, like I don't want to watch somebody else eating with me. Right. But I would say it feeds into like the issue that it feeds into is that, you know, people will want to eventually pump their own numbers, and a lot of times like they realize, hey, we need to eat bigger. We need to eat, you know, something more unordinary, right? And so that's when it starts to become this negative feedback loop that becomes unhealthy. If you get to that point, not saying everyone does, but some people who do. It just kind of like, because what happens when the numbers go down and then now you have to become more extreme. But it doesn't happen to a lot of people, right? A lot of people, they just do very regular mukbang and that's it, right? And like, that's okay. To the point of Nikocado, maybe, I don't know if I'm giving him more credit because I don't know him at all. I kind of feel in the back of his mind, there is going to be a point in time where he does change. But that's just me thinking, right? I don't know him as a person. I've watched a couple of his videos, but like I feel like there will be a point in time where something is going to turn for him, like just change all of a sudden, and then I don't know what comes after that. But
when I saw him eat all the ramen noodles, because most of the stuff that I always see, it's like Takis and like fucking the ramen noodles that he eats.
Yeah, weird
like
shit.
He eats like 90 packets of a fucking spicy ramen noodle dish. And sometimes I always wonder, I'm like, would it have been different if he just like fucking ate it really quickly on camera and just started like fucking throwing it back up? You know what I mean? Like, because I always looked at the food that he ate. I'm like, it's just literally fucking ramen. Like, it's just fucking straight carbs that he's filling his stomach up. What if he just like threw this up afterwards? Because it reminded me of Shoe Nice, right? Like, Shoe Nice, obviously we all know, like, he used to just pop Everclear and like every fucking type of alcohol. When he did his Everclear video, I have to believe, and I'm not even conspiratorial, I think the man threw up after the video. I don't think it's
physically, like, is it even physically possible to not just die from alcohol poisoning if you drink a liter
of 95% grain alcohol?
95% alcohol.
I'm like, you have to throw up, otherwise what the fuck is your liver gonna go through?
Unless you have like a liver that works 4 times more effectively than the average person, which I don't think that's really possible.
No, I don't think so either. So it's like,
and like alcohol reductase or whatever the enzyme in your fucking blood is.
Well, I think he'd have to like. I think he'd have to throw up like that amount of alcohol. Like, it's too much for anybody.
Yeah.
You know, like, and even if he's a bigger guy, that still doesn't, you know, derive from the fact that like, that's still 95. That's straight fucking alcohol. That's 190 proof ethanol you're drinking in. You will die. So when I look at Nico Cotto, I'm like, what? Like, obviously he doesn't throw up the food. Let's not fucking split hairs here. But I'm like, maybe that might have been the one way anybody would have been trying to do like a mukbang, like, and survive in the long term. I feel like anybody that gets into it, like, there's not a long term goal. There's never been a long term goal. It's like, we're just gonna go do this day by day, and fuck if we die.
I think YouTube in general, like, it puts you in the short term mindset. Like, you know, as you talked about, Steve will do it or whatever. He makes $1 million a month, and then he spends $1 million that month. Like, people don't look at it long term.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like Nico Cotto, it's like, maybe it's like make enough money in like a year or two, and then just like invest somewhere else, and then start to get fit. But like, I don't know. Once you're at that size, it really does fucking change you. Like, putting on weight is way easy. Losing the fucking weight is like substantially fucking harder.
Yeah, like what's the likelihood you think that his arteries are hardened and there's like plaque deposits in his like heart and you know, I don't like there, because you can't really undo that. I think atherosclerosis can be like reversed to an extent, right? But you can't just undo all of it.
Like, relatively fit people have some degree of plaque formation.
Right.
Yeah. And so for the reason it becomes dangerous is when it ruptures and then the blood clot forms inside, and then now you have like a full occlusion of the blood vessels supplying oxygen to the heart. So
you're saying Mr. Avocado is not relatively fit according to your
so like at my age for sure I have it, and it's like I'm not like I don't think I'm unfit, although I'm more out of shape now than I was 2 years ago. But I know for sure I have it, but it's just there is not a chance for it to rupture and create that blood clot to cause like a full occlusion of a blood vessel in my heart, right? So
because like what I think so I've done a lot of research on health, but like internet, right? So it's not like real necessarily. There's no basis in study. So what I think he's saying when he's like talking about trying to reduce inflammation by not drinking the like sugary sodas, why he thinks it's okay to eat a Big Mac without drinking like a Dr. Pepper or a Coke, and how that's somehow healthier and how he's gaining weight healthily is like LDL, HDL, cholesterol.
How the fuck do you have a Big Mac without a goddamn Dr. Pepper?
I know, yeah, it's ridiculous. You just can't do that. LDL, HDL, right?
Content, okay?
They're not cholesterol. They're cholesterol transports, right? They transport cholesterol, and when they do so efficiently, that's how cholesterol is deposited in the arteries by LDL, HDL, cholesterol when those two things are not like operating efficiently because they're proteins, right? LDL and HDL. So then that's what causes plaque buildup. Essentially, is the inefficiency of LDL and HDL, which is caused by inflammation. That's like something that seems to be a pretty consistent. Like you're keto type people. That's why they say it's fine to eat so much saturated fat. It's not going to cause plaque in your arteries, because if you don't have any inflammation from eating things that cause inflammation and drinking sugar and things like that, then it doesn't matter how much cholesterol you eat, because your body's not gonna, you're not gonna be operating it efficiently. Which that just seems like that's what he's saying. I don't think that that's true. But that seems
I know
like
his mindset when he says that. So speaking of angry comment section, again, you bring up the word keto and you'll get like an angry hornet's nest, and people think that you're attacking. Like, at least for me, they think I'm attacking it. And it's like, if you watch like my old fat loss videos, like I've been living a form of keto for like 20 years. Some years more sincerely than others, but it, like when they attack me for it, I'm just like, guys, what are you talking about? So
we're on the same side.
Right? And so the idea that he's coming from is that he's just trying to eliminate like those like sugars that spike insulin really quick. So he's trying to have more complex carbohydrates, and that's his rationale for it. I mean, at those calorie levels, I'll be honest, like you might be lowering the impact a little bit, but maybe not by that much.
Yeah, like it might not be like a fucking SAR bomba attack, but it's still a pretty bad nuke to
still
hit,
gonna be a nuke.
You may be jumping off the Empire State Building, but at least you're wearing a helmet.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I have one more question to ask you specifically, Emu, before we cut off, because I know we usually end around an hour and a half. What's the most unhealthy thing you do on a consistent basis that you acknowledge as unhealthy and still do it?
He opens Twitter.
Not mentally, physically.
Oh, physically? I'll be honest. I probably spend too much time on the computer because for work stuff, because it's like basically it is a lot of things have become virtual. So like you have to be on the computer. Mm-hmm. And then I do the YouTube stuff. And so it's like, most of the day I'm like, sit huddled at the computer, typing or, editing the video or like drawing something. Right. And then
I've got back problems because of it. Yeah.
Yeah, right.
The last
you're like
2 years,
over, right?
Yeah. The last 2 years, I got back problems because of just COVID life. Like you're just in front of me.
What you're doing right now? Just fucking like.
It becomes a habit, and it sucks ass. And I'm glad you.
You do have a good chair, Emu. I saw your chair.
There was in my place where I live now. This was like a custom order, and they were like, yeah, we can fit it with like rollerblade wheels or whatever. And I was like, oh, okay.
Sure.
That's cool.
It's nice. But yeah, I mean, unhealthy stuff, a lot of it kind of stems from either being on the computer for too long, which then disrupts like sleeping habits. So
right.
I would say I also probably drank too much caffeine for a long time. I remember especially like I did a video on my second channel about how energy drinks cured my insomnia, like inadvertently. And it was because at the time I was dieting and I was, losing a lot of weight, but I found out like if I didn't eat as much protein that, I would actually be able to hit that mark harder, which is not healthy, right? Just from a mental standpoint.
Right.
So what happened was my protein intake fell to the point where it was affecting vitamin B12 levels. So animal proteins have the vitamin B12. And I wasn't taking additional vitamins or whatever, and I was having insomnia. And I remember the exact day that it was coming.
Oh, right. The B12 from energy
and so
drinks.
there's vitamin B12 in energy drinks. But it went on for like a year where I wasn't able to sleep. Like I would go to bed at 11, and I could see the sun rise at 7, and nothing happened in between. I was laying there staring at the ceiling. And it was such an awful feeling that knowing you're going to lay down and you're going to see the sun. So one day I remember being at Walmart buying groceries, and there was like that 4-pack of like Monster Zero or whatever. And I'm just like, you know what? I'm not going to sleep anyways, so screw it. Like I'll drink one of these. And I drank 2 at like 11 p.m. Didn't sleep that night. But in the daytime, I like passed out. I think I passed out on the floor, and it was like just like this hard floor that I'm just like passed out on. And then I like wake up and I'm like in a like pool of like sweat and like drool and everything. And I'm like, what just happened? Like this is the first time I've slept for like 18 months. And then I started drinking more energy drinks, and I was able to sleep again. So I was like, oh, okay. And
That's
then
so wacky.
Right.
That's
and
crazy.
it was because of vitamin B12 in it. And so from there, you just kind of like start on this caffeine habit. And what ended up happening was like once I could sleep and I was able to, fix that vitamin B12 thing, then you have a caffeine problem, and you're waking up in the middle of the night and then you can't sleep. So,
God, so you're basically trading one fuck up for another fuck up. Like, goddamn.
Yeah.
That's why I slept in Minecraft. It was a lot easier. That's all I did, man. It actually works. I don't do it anymore though, because my sleeping habits are relatively okay these days. But
mine are good. I started wearing these big Uvex glasses before I go to bed. These like giant amber glasses that I have a hot tub and like there's a light in it. Every time the light goes blue, it just is dark out. The blue light does not penetrate the glasses at all. It looks fucking weird, but it definitely helps me sleep whenever I wear them. As soon as the sun goes down, I start wearing them.
I try to turn the computer off like 30 minutes before I go to bed, and then like just try to like read something, but that doesn't happen very often. So
no. No.
You try to. Keyword try.
It's a noble attempt. We'll leave it at that. Mm-hmm. But you want to lead us out there, Oompa?
Yeah, sure. Anyways, guys, thanks for watching this episode of Some Ordinary Podcast. In my opinion, one of the best guests we've had, ChubbyEmu. Go check him out.
Holy fuck!
Yeah, this was a
we
great
did.
episode.
Yeah, this was a good. This was a good conversation.
Yo, guys,
and
our
go check him out.
Slaps. Like, we have a really good podcast. Have you noticed?
Oh man,
Like,
God,
not
dude,
to pat myself on the back.
self-initiating this furly.
It's pretty good. It's pretty good.
No,
pretty good
I
podcast.
want to also thank ChubbyEmu for showing up literally on the fucking
on time,
dude. A professional. A professional.
I want that to be in there. Like we need to just like fucking appreciate the people that show up on time.
Yo,
like fucking
we can't
Doctor
roast
first,
the people.
YouTuber
We can't
second.
roast the people that like ditch us or show up late. So we can at least compliment everyone that came on
Yeah,
time,
absolutely.
so that viewers could read between the lines and know who the assholes are.
Yeah, dude. And also the level of preparation too. You were gonna message me the other day before I was about to message, or I messaged you and you were about to message me to verify, to make sure, to just get everything planned and have it all ready to go.
Frame
That's
rates
good.
and everything, because you know, like I've recorded interviews too, and it's like when things don't go right, anything doesn't go right, it just becomes a massive headache, and it's like then the video might not even happen. So I know from experience it's very important.
Well, anyways, thanks for watching.
we just kind of end it.